Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. Time to get a little more practical than one of our usual shows. Take a look at that beautiful view. It is gorgeous. It's also very deceptive. It was minus 23 degrees Celsius here yesterday. And boy, it was something. That's what I'm going to say. I live in a house. It was it was built back when installation values weren't as high as they were today. And yeah, it was a pretty brutal day. Fortunately, I have multiple ways to heat the house, and I didn't have to resort to the burners, but it was one of those touch and go things. This is one of the points on the Silverlight Show where we can show you a lot of simple ways to stay warm and to survive through these brutal temperatures. Let's start number one. It's already too late if you're worried about cold now. That's just a simple, honest, brutal truth. You want to be stocked up with lots of things like heavy sheets for your bed. Even if you live in a tropical area, a warm blanket is something you can't overestimate. Because, yeah, most nights it's going to be terrible, but you're going to get cold nights. Even if you're in Hawaii and, enjoying a luau down by the beach, listening to the ukulele music, a warm blanket makes all the difference in the world. A couple layers of insulation is exactly what humans need. We don't have fur, so you need to figure out a way to back that up. So blankets are your number one trick. And you know what? For those of you who have electric dryers at home, believe it or not everybody has one. And it's a really cold day. Go down to your laundry machine. Put it in for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Warm it up. And that's going to be toasty warm, put over top of you. It's going to be one of the biggest luxuries possible. Yes, it costs you a little bit of money in electricity, but when it keeps the frost off your toes, it's worth every penny. Secondly, hot drinks. Now, first thing, be careful. You don't want to have caffeine in your hot drinks. You don't want to have sugar in your hot drinks. The reason why is they're vascular constrictors. They make your blood vessels shrink and to flex inwards. That's not what you want. You want to be getting more of the warm blood from your center of your body out to the extremes. So you want to look at your herbal teas, chamomile, rooibos, anything that doesn't have caffeine in it. Peppermint, whatever you like and tastes good, a cup of that on a cold day is going to feel like a miracle inside. Alcohol is tempting. Silverlight always likes to joke it's antifreeze, but that's because Silverlight has a place where he has heat. If I was outside, I wouldn't touch the stuff because it makes you feel warm, but your core body temperature is lowering. So stay away from anything except warm, non-caffeinated drinks. This is for the suburban kind of person, so we're not going to go into fire and stuff like that. But if you have a fireplace, hey, having some firewood and some matches is a wonderful idea. Check your local fire ordinance before you try to start anything outside. In my municipality, you have to have a fire permit for anything, and trust me, they do not issue one. Unless you can prove it's some sort of major religious festival and it's required, it ain't happening. And I can respect that. A lot of houses are close together, and I don't want my neighbor getting drunk and falling asleep in front of his roaring fire or her roaring fire. People do silly things regardless of sex. But yeah, fire, if you have the luxury of having a fireplace. I do not, my parents do, my friends do. but it's something worth investing in. And people are trying to get rid of wood all the time. You just look around, and sooner or later, you're going to find some wood to keep you warm. Food. This is stew and soup season. Don't underestimate what you can do with a stew and a soup. If you have a slow cooker, you have a ticket to Easyville. Throw your stuff into the slow cooker, put it on low in the morning, you go to work, you come home, you got yourself a nice chicken, beef, lamb, whatever kind of stew you want. And I'd lean more towards stew, but the same token, I'm not afraid of soups either. For the cheapest option, you can go out, get yourself some beans, some relatively inexpensive stock, whether that's vegetarian. You can make this all yourself, but I'm assuming most people don't have hours to slave over a stove, so hence why I'm talking about the slow cooker and what you can do as little cheat sheets. I personally buy that veggie Knorr powder, whatever you want to call it, and it makes for an excellent base for a soup whenever I don't want to sit there and cut the carrots and the tomatoes and cut everything down and simmer it, blah, 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 everything to make a soup perfect. But soups and stews, perfect food. You come home, if you got a slow cooker, you come home from work, you open the slow cooker, you take out piping hot soup, and it's going to make your insides just tickle with happiness. And if you can't, for whatever reason, even those little Campbell's cup of soup, whatever the heck it is, are a godsend. Don't look past them in the aisle unless you have an allergy, in which case I understand. But little things, a cup of tea and a thing of soup, you're going to be sweating in no time. Let's talk about sweating. This is something people forget about in winter, but sweating is one of the most dangerous things you can do. If you go out and you're tobogganing with your kids, you're hiking a trail, or you're just firing snowballs at each other, you're sweating. One of the things my father taught me, and I have found invaluable, is minimize your sweat. It sounds strange, but it's true in both hot and cold weather. In hot weather, you don't want to be sweating because that's your liquid evaporating. But in winter, it's bringing the liquid out of your body and into your clothes. And then it gets cold on your clothes and it lowers your core body temperature. Try to lower your sweating. The one mistake I see people making constantly, everywhere, is they'll be dressed up and they'll have their hat and their scarf and their 2 or 3 layers of winter coat and thermal underwear and stuff like that. They'll walk into a store and they'll walk around inside the store carrying a basket, carrying this, pushing that, doing whatever the heck it is. And all that sweat is burning up inside of them. So when they go back outside, and maybe you've experienced this yourself. I know I have before my dad gave me that advice. You'd come out and it would feel 10 times as cold. Take that advantage when you're inside and let the sweat wick off of you. Open your jacket. Take your mitts off. Try to get as open as possible. When I dress in layers, I try to make as many button up and zipper up as possible so that I can get down to the minimum when I don't need those layers. It's simple and it's very effective. Socks. Always have socks, because the first thing that goes cold on most people is their feet. And I can tell you, having cold feet is a terrible thing. I have 2 sets of socks, the same color, so I can mix and match as I like. All my socks are black, so I always know I'm never going to have mismatched socks. But I have little regular ones, and I have big, thick, insulated ones. And on days like yesterday and today, I'm going to absolutely insulate up, have 2, maybe even 3 pairs of socks on. There's no shame, and once they're inside your boots, your shoes, or whatever, no one's going to notice. It's not free. You have to buy in for the price of socks. So, and generally you can get socks at a relatively inexpensive amount. depending on what you buy, etc. But we're talking about a $30 investment for 3, 5, 10 years, depending on how much you wear these socks. And yeah, it's going to carry you forward for the foreseeable future. Your core body temperature is essential to surviving in cold weather. And every single tip I've given you today has been about simple, effective ways to raise that body temperature. Hypothermia is deadly. Heck, frostbite is dangerous. You might not wind up losing a finger, but I have a friend, and he got frostbite in his ears when he was a kid, because like all kids, we go out and we do stupid things. Oh, I can ignore it. And he got frostbite in his ears, and it's to the point now he has such a reaction to the cold, he cannot go outside without wearing a hat. So it's possible to do a lot of permanent damage to yourself. And it's so easy to not have that damage happen. None of us are out there trying to film a survival special on trying to live outside. And maybe one day I'll do an episode on that, because I've had to be in that situation too. But I'd rather talk and focus on simple suburban, urban survival techniques. Because at the moment, we're all inside. We're all trying to avoid getting frozen. And hey, if you're listening from somewhere that doesn't get frozen temperatures as regularly as we do here, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. And most importantly, you're going to find a lot of these tips are pretty familiar to you. Surviving is not rocket science. Survival is mostly common sense. And that's what we need to emphasize. Use your common sense. It's cold, and the cold can kill you. Wherever you live, there's an environmental hazard that will kill you. And just because we don't get hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, etc., that doesn't mean we can ignore the cold. Heck, if you're in the most tropical country on the earth, nights can still get pretty darn cold. And especially the temperature difference, once you've been used to 30 degrees during the day and it drops down to 10 degrees at night, your body needs to recover from that. So, blankets, soups, warm drinks, non-caffeinated, non-alcoholic drinks. Much as we all like to have a little something to celebrate the end of the day, it's not the best for us. Extra clothes, and most importantly, letting your body sweat wick away. The simple steps you need to survive that can be applied to almost every single environment. So, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Buy the merch, which are the books listed in the link down below. And we hope you have a fantastic day.